The interstellar conference hall on Station Arcturus buzzed with controlled chaos. Delegates from 47 species had gathered for the Galactic Council's annual summit, and security protocols were tighter than a vacuum seal. Mira Chen sat at her modest desk in the human delegation wing, reviewing trade agreements with the focused intensity that had made her Earth's youngest diplomatic attaché. She didn't notice the breach until it was too late. Human. Step away from your workstation immediately. The Vrelian security officer's translator crackled with urgency, his four eyes wide with what Mira had learned to recognize as panic. Mira's hands froze over her datapad. What's wrong? The Cathther cubs, they've escaped their enclosure. Do not move. Do not make eye contact. Do not... He stopped mid-sentence, his antenna drooping in defeat. A tiny, furry projectile launched itself onto Mira's desk with surprising force, scattering her carefully organized documents across the polished surface. The creature, no bigger than a house cat, had 6 legs, crystalline blue eyes, and fur that seemed to shimmer between silver and gold. It chirped once, then sat directly on her keyboard, tail swishing with obvious satisfaction. Oh no, Mira whispered. Oh yes, the security officer groaned, already speaking rapidly into his comm unit. We have a code amber. Repeat, code amber. The human has been contacted. Before Mira could ask what that meant, 2 more cubs bounded across the corridor and scrambled up her desk legs with the determination of tiny, adorable mountaineers. Within seconds, her entire workspace had become a playground for 5 Cathther cubs, each one seemingly more interested in her than in the expensive equipment they were trampling. The boldest one, the first arrival, climbed directly onto Mira's lap and began purring. The sound vibrated through her chest like a small engine. Hi there, Mira said softly, instinct overriding protocol. She'd grown up with cats. This couldn't be that different, right? She reached down slowly, letting the cub sniff her hand. The security officer made a sound like strangled static. Human, I must insist. Jax, no! A new voice cut through the commotion. A towering Cathther adult burst into the corridor. Her fur bristled with stress. She stood nearly 7 feet tall with the same shimmering coat as the cubs, but bearing elaborate ceremonial markings. Security explicitly told you, all of you, to maintain distance from the human delegation. The cub in Mira's lap, apparently Jax, merely chirped again and kneaded her thigh with tiny paws. Ambassador Cathther, the security officer said miserably, we tried to establish the perimeter you requested, but the cubs ignored every barrier, sensor, and warning. Yes, I can see that. The Cathther ambassador approached slowly, her body language radiating exhaustion. I apologize profusely, Attaché Chen. This is precisely what we hope to avoid. Mira looked up from the pile of cubs now occupying every available inch of her desk and lap. Avoid? Why? They're adorable. Cathther's ears flattened. Because you're human? The words hung in the air. Mira had heard that tone before. The careful, almost fearful way some species pronounce their species name, as if speaking of something dangerous. I don't understand, Mira said, gently stroking Jax's head. The cub's purring intensified. Cathther settled onto her haunches. A gesture Mira had learned meant the Cathther was preparing for a difficult conversation. Attaché Chen, do you know why humans were initially barred from council membership for 3 decades after first contact? The aggression protocols, Mira recited. Species classified as persistence predators with documented interspecies warfare patterns require extended observation periods. That's the diplomatic answer. Cathther's tail swished. The real reason is that you terrify us. Humans are the only species in known space that evolved as both predator and prey. You're the only ones who look at impossible odds and say challenge accepted. You're the only ones who pack bonded with wolves, and turned them into companions. Another cub crawled up Mira's arm and settled on her shoulder, nuzzling her neck. Humans, Cathther continued, have a unique neurological response to creatures you deem cute or needing protection. Your brain chemistry literally changes. You become capable of extraordinary violence to protect something small and vulnerable. We've studied the Earth historical records. Mothers lifting ground vehicles to save offspring. Soldiers carrying wounded comrades through hostile territory. Civilians standing between predators and children that weren't even their own species. Mira felt Jax's small heartbeat against her palm. And you think I'd hurt them? No. Cathther's voice softened. We think you'd die for them. And that terrifies us more than anything in the galaxy. The security officer shuffled nervously. The Cathther cubs are sacred to their species. They're born only once every 50 years. If anything happened to them, nothing will happen to them, Mira said quietly, meeting Cathther's gaze. Not on my watch. The ambassador's ears pricked forward. That's exactly what we're afraid of, Attaché Chen. We've seen what humans do when they bond with something. You'll move mountains, reshape planets, start wars, end wars. We've watched your planet's history, what you've done for your own young, for each other, even for your animals. You don't understand moderation when it comes to protection. Jax chose that moment to climb up Mira's chest and boop her nose with his tiny snout. Something warm and fierce bloomed in her chest. That ancient human instinct that had turned wild predators into loyal dogs, that had built civilizations to protect the vulnerable, that had reached for the stars because humanity refused to accept limits. You're right to be afraid, Mira said, not taking her eyes off the cub. Because now I've met them. Now I know they exist. And you're right. I would move mountains for them. Any human would. The corridor fell silent. Then Cathther did something unexpected. She laughed, a cascading musical sound. Do you know what the Council's real fear is, Attaché Chen? It's that one day humanity will decide we all need protecting, and then there will be no force in the galaxy that could stop you. Would that be so bad? Mira asked. The ambassador looked at her cubs, now completely at ease in a human's arms, purring contentedly. That, she said softly, is the question that keeps the entire council awake at night. Jax yawned, showing needle-sharp baby teeth, and settled into sleep against Mira's heart. The security officer updated his report with trembling appendages. Code Amber confirmed. Human has bonded with Cathther cubs. May whatever deities exist have mercy on anyone who threatens them now.